Go to TAPgiles.com to learn dreams, engage my services, and support the channel. So we're going to look at the calculator, the new calculator stuff, particularly the trigonometric functions first. The first thing to understand about these functions is they use radians, not degrees, for angles. So we have like a circle that's a bit lumpy, and then that's the center, and then we have a radius. So let's give the radius a different color. And we'll draw it with a line. Boop, so that's the radius. Degrees are like, you get 0 from there, 45, 90, 180 is over there, 270, and then back over here. So that gets to like 360. So those are degrees, but computers tend to think in radians, which is another way of measuring how far around the circle you are. Radians are measured in how many radiuses around the circumference you go. So if you think about the size of a circumference, it tends to be measured with the diameter. How many diameters are there going around the circle? And that is 3.14, that is pi, and that's how we get the value pi. That's how many diameters are in the circumference of a circle. If you use radians, you count the radians around the circumference instead, and you get tau, which is double pi. So like if I just rotated this, a radius, of course, is just half of the diameter, or the diameter is double the length of a radius. So this is where measuring angles comes in. So if we're measuring that amount of rotation, if we started there and rotated it round to there, so measuring like round there, how many radiuses, how many of that length is it around the circumference? And that's how many radians it is. So that's about 1 radian, I think. And then if you went all the way around to there, 180 degrees, it would be pi radians, because it's pi diameters would go all the way around, so pi radians goes half the way around. And then you go all the way 360 and it's 2 pi, or tau, radians. So it's just a different way of measuring an angle based on the distance travelled around the circumference of the circle. And that is what these trigonometry functions want. So you send it in a radian, a number of radians, and it works on that. So that's the angle, that green thing. We know the angle in degrees, so we want to talk about. Let's convert that into radians. There are pi radians in half a circle in 180 degrees. So if we use that same kind of ratio to convert between the two. So if we have 180 degrees, we want this to output pi, which is 3.14. So if we divide that, if we just put that in there, and divide it by 180, then that just gives us 1, because we're going all the way around. It's just 180 divided by 180. That gives you 1, that makes sense. But we want to multiply that by, that should actually be pi. So we want to multiply it by pi. And a shortcut for that, instead of using like a whole other calculator, putting in there, and then multiply by pi, you can use the modulate mode on here, on the little input tab. So if we hold L1 and use X, we can go to different input modes, wire blend modes, and modulate multiplies this incoming value 180 by whatever that setting, whatever the actual slider says. So then we can write in here 3.14159, and you can do as many digits as you want, I guess, but that's all I can remember. So that will now multiply that by pi and then divide by 180, and then that gives us the result that we're looking for. If we wire that into a slider over here, that gives us the pi value. So now if we would go 45 degrees, that's 0.79, and that's that amount of angle going round, because that's 45 degrees and it's 0.79 of a radian. And then if we put 360 degrees, that'll be 2 pi, which is 6.28. That's the full circle. Cool, so that's how you can convert to radians. But when we use these trigonometry functions, we'll get out radians sometimes from some of these functions as well. So we do the opposite, we'll do the other way around. So if we have, if we just copy that and put that to 6.28, and then we divide by 3.14 and multiply by 180 degrees. So we just basically swap these two around, and then we're getting 360 out of that. So if we send in 360, then we get out 360, and we can just wire that in if you want, and then put that to different numbers, and we're getting out the same value. Oh, 14159. Okay, that's better. And now you can just put this to any degrees you want, and you get the right radians out, and then the radians get converted to degrees again, and we're getting the same degrees out. So that's all working properly, and that's how you convert between the two. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something interesting. Go to patreon.com/TAPgiles to learn something new every day.